Hi kids, this is Coach John again. I am pinch hitting for Herman, who talked to you on Sunday, if you were at church, about Moses and how our God saves. And God saved the Israelite people by parting the Red Sea. And you might remember earlier this summer, we were here at my pool. My pool is covered now and covered with leaves because, hey, it's winter. But I wanted to tell a little story to wrap up a little bit of what Herman talked about. This is a short story about, and it's a true story, about a man who was at sea and his ship capsized and everybody was lost except this one man. And he ended up on the shore of a small little island out in the Pacific Ocean, and he was stranded. There wasn't much there. He looked around the island, couldn't find too much. He didn't have much with him after being cast out to sea, and he was desperate, and so he pleaded with God, God, please save me from this situation. Well, many days went by and there was no sight of ships at all, and the man became despondent and worried, and he did what he could. He found a lot of driftwood and he made a shelter as best as he could to stay away from the elements, the rain and the lightning and such. One day he was out foraging for food, trying to find anything he could eat, and he was on the other side of the island when he noticed some smoke coming from the area where his shelter was. And so he quickly went that direction, and to his horror, his shelter was on fire. A lightning bolt had hit it just right, sparked a flame, and it consumed everything that he had gathered. All his food, provisions, whatever he had was gone. The man looked to the sky and he said, God, why are you forsaking me? Why are you doing this to me? I'm gonna die here. Well, he tried to go to sleep that night out in the open, in the cold of the Pacific Ocean, and he woke up the next morning to a funny sound. The sound of a ship's horn. And to his surprise, when he rubbed his eyes and looked out to sea, a little boat was coming from the ship with some sailors, and they were coming to save him. And the man ran to shore and greeted them and said, how did you know I was here? No one's been anywhere near this island as far as I can tell. And the sailor said, well, we saw your smoke signal, so we came to investigate. And that is just a beautiful way to say how God saves us. Sometimes, in the midst of our trials and troubles and tribulations, He will use that stuff to save us. He will use the bad things sometimes to help us. For you parents, you probably can share some stories with your kids about this. I frequently look back on my history and look at things that happened where at the time I was going, God, what are you doing? Why are you forsaking me? And yet now I can look back and say, hey, God was at work and He caused something better to happen. So you parents, please share some of those stories with your kids. I actually am here with you kids partly for that reason. When I was, as you know, I was a PE teacher at Columbia Christian School. I love my job. I was there 6 years, but we had a new president who changed the philosophy, and all of a sudden I had to go from full-time to part-time. And it was at that point that I applied for Laurelwood. And the search committee recommended me, and the elders hired me, and now I am your children's director. Now I look back, and even though I was in misery for a couple months because I loved my job and I was losing my full-time job, God saved me because He knew the pandemic was coming. And He knew as the way I do PE, I would have struggled so much and been so frustrated trying to do PE on Zoom calls. I think you guys have probably picked up. I love to work with you, to play with you, to talk with you, and that's how I did PE. So God saved me from a miserable experience last year and this year in school, and He brought me to you. And it's been incredible because I'm with really great kids, wonderful parents, an amazing volunteer staff, and a wonderful church staff that is an incredible team. So look for the way God saved you, even in the hard times. I want to wrap it up there. We're past the 5-minute mark. So we look forward to seeing you this Sunday, kids. Bye-bye.